Hello, good morning and welcome to Newsroom here on GHOne TV. My name is Awisi Dede. Let's take a look at our headlines this morning. And this morning, All People's Congress admonishes New Patriotic Party and National Democratic Congress to assure Ghanaians of peace, especially regarding National Peace Council's Peace Pact. But how Biden is a peace pact in the face of elections. Also ahead of Saturday's manifesto launch of the National Democratic Congress, the party hints of a fund to support renal diseases in Ghana. Savannah Agricultural Research Institute of the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research expressed a strong reservation about government's seeming lack of effort and support for farmers affected by northern drought. Monkeypox on the international front bites harder in Democratic Republic of Congo as World Health Organization declares outbreaks in Africa a global emergency. Details of these stories and many more coming up shortly. Stay with me. Many thanks for choosing us this morning. The news is coming to you live from our Platinum studio here in Accra. My name is Awisi Dede. Let's take a look at some election-related stories on Election Hub. And on Election Hub, flag bearer of the All People's Congress, Hassan Ayariga, is admonishing political parties, particularly the NDC and the NPP, to commit to peace and sign any document which safeguards national cohesion. His comment is in reaction to a decision by the biggest opposition party, NDC, which has generated varied reactions that it will not sign any peace pact without some 6 conditions met ahead of the December polls. Wallace spoke on Star Today yesterday.
Election until today, Hassan Ayariga has always been the first person to advocate for peace in this country and also advocate for free, fair election. I've signed all treaties and all agreements made or even at most cases, I even request that there should be a peace agreement between all political parties, and most importantly, the NDC and the NPP. Now, let us not forget, it is only when there is peace that we can go in for elections, and nobody can rule a burning nation. So I will advise the NDC that this is not a do or die kind of elections. We've contested all these elections since from 1992, and to show their level of tolerance and their level of maturity and their level of being one of the parties that have ruled this country, they should sign any form of peace accord, whether directly or indirectly, whether from any party or any institution. It is for them to demonstrate to the world that this election is going to be peaceful. This election will be free and fair. The president is not above the law of the Republic of Ghana. Nobody is above the law. So when the people make their decision, you cannot subvert the will of the people.
Well, the founder and leader of the All People's Congress, Dr. Hassan Ayariga, is also appealing to the Electoral Commission to thoroughly investigate the background of all presidential candidates. Well, according to the 1992 constitutions of Ghana, a person is eligible for presidency if he or she is a citizen of Ghana and also has attained the age of 40 years and has a sound mind. But Dr. Hassan Ayariga thinks it is equally important for the background of presidential candidates to be investigated. He also spoke on Star Today yesterday.
On a more serious note, we are joking with this office of president. And that is why you see so far 11 independent presidential candidates have picked form to contest for the seat, including political parties that are coming that is going to make the ballot paper if all of them should qualify, 2 into 1. I mean, it is in this country that there's no record beside the constitutional requirement of becoming a president, vying for president, that one have to be 40 and of sane mind and not sick. But there should be some elements added to it, like criminal elements, some records of other things, so that it will make the presidency a stage, a position where not everybody is qualified just per the age limit and the mindset. It is more of more money than brains. And I think that the EC or the government of Ghana should get criminal records of every candidate. This is my appeal. That we should check the records of every candidate who is going to contest.
While still on the Peace Pact, the Director of Conflict Resolution of the opposition NDC, Amala Abraham, says the support base of the NDC are in favor of the party's intent not to sign the Peace Pact until some 6 conditions are met. The NDC, among other demands, served notice that the party will not participate in any peace agreement. We'll take a listen to Amala, who spoke to GHOne News.
It's in support of our stand. Don't forget that the 8 people who were killed in the last election were our supporters. Today, their relatives are asking, why haven't they had justice? And so, moving into the 2024 election, if these things are not addressed, I am sure, and already we are receiving commendation from our supporters for the stance we have taken against the Peace Council. For the benefit of the entire democratic process, including the NPP, where there's violence in dealing with issues that come before them, we cannot fold our arms. If you look at our 6 proposals or conditions we want, they are not for the benefit of the NDC alone. They are for the benefit of the entire democratic process, including the NPP. Where there's violence, NPP members too will die. So we are not asking for anything which is difficult to get. We say prosecute those who did the killing. Is that difficult? Why should even the opposition be the one interested in calling on the government to prosecute wrongdoers.
Well, the NDC Deputy National Communications Officer, Malik Basari, has also been reacting to this. Well, he has launched a scathing attack on the ruling government, the president and the vice president, of being the most corrupt leaders since Ghana has been in inception. Speaking on GH Today earlier, Basari criticized the government handling of corruption, saying corruption appeared only 3 times in the 216-page NPP manifesto. According to him, this is an indication that their conscience was fighting them when they were writing the manifesto. Take a listen to him.
Started office, he labeled for the first time our president as being the mother serpent of corruption, and that our president of all corrupt snakes was the biggest python that swallows corrupt money in the economy. True or false? That office was what passed a verdict on Alhaji Bawumia to have stolen 10,000 bags of salad rice from the pot, all in the name of his administrator called Kekosai. But today Kekosai is still at the helm of affairs. That special prosecutor's office is what finally came and told us that he's now Ankwanoma. Corruption has choked him to the extent that he wants to fly, that his soul has left his body. And at this particular point, even if he dies because Akufo-Addo and Bawumia's corruption have been stinking in this country.
That's
I am saying that the only corrupt entity, the only corrupt leadership we've had in this country is Akufo-Addo and Bawumia, and their corruption history is there. Look, at a point, Akufo-Addo was testing Bawumia with corrupt deals, and anytime Bawumia did the corruption, we exposed him. Ameri, innovation scandal, we brought Ameri 510 billion. Akufo-Addo on the 31st of July traveled to ECOWAS for a meeting, so he decided to test Bawumia to see whether he's learned corruption on the job. Then he gave the deal to him to sign. It was Bawumia who signed the Ameri innovation scandal that ballooned Ameri from 510 million to 1.3 billion. When they took it to Parliament exposed them. The president had to run back to Ghana just to cover Bawumia, and what the president did was to sack Boakye Jako and lie that he was misled. Till date, Kojo, do you know who misled the president? He didn't tell you and I. Boakye Jako wrote a statement and said when the dust settles, one day he will speak. And the day he will speak, we will see the kind of evil people we have at the helm of affairs. Again, PDS was supposed to come and support the corridors of this country. They were supposed to develop our 33 kV lines so we could export electricity from Ghana to neighboring countries. When PDS was brought, the Millennium Development Fund was supposed to come from America and support us with about 500 million to boost our energy corridors. The money was brought. They decided to set up an SPV called PVS.
So now let's bring you some sight and sound from the Ablekuma North, where the team visited for the Voters Connect program that was aired this morning.
Obia about promise oye. Obia about promise ya obeyesi. Just a munyumano nada omumwaye isu twa na eyiri environment ni na gates ni na echoku. At the same time won na ko amanfo fie. Itama ye ho kire road ni nyina gates ni nyina choku omoba omoso mbeye so no matran so no moko we ba no cause the same problem ka men ko nka sa NPP and NDC mpoko mu nyina mfiri so na kian fa new person bra a obetimi aba ba hwe kwashima constitution because the way omuka omoye no kian new person a obetimi aba be gina ama both party no omo difference na ewo mu no because obia ba na da
na nyama bi kwaso na ya first na meto aba makufo na sisi mbetena ba 24 years ni nsuo ta efanye NPP abatena so a bibia ni wo maaye nti ma sesa ma adwen se meto ama NDC sisi amite bi omudi ababo ya de metal bobo enya 1 month ya top light 400 month nso ye nti meto ama NDC
na unwo GDS NDC
ba ombayade ku joma ha ma kono na petrol yeah, 14 cities, 50%. You see, I saying, what be some drivers almost 75, will be 80. Into Metro Mendes.
They say a quine and I hear a quine one way, who feels so to move a traffic, wumusa, and Kayaba says, woman, ye are quine, and my who how bet me a pia, not just I enter my mind. If you are say where they are calling him, and it's a 1 year one more brand, and you've been a baby one. Tears and I saw on ye a quine of mine, or my manus in your Jumanye. So many Jumaya, or your batana, who fear ya, or Bakwa, or Yaka Cradia, bro, no, so when you be.
Now let's go back to our earlier conversation on the Peace Pact, the back and forth between the NDC and the NPP. Let's get over Zoom and speak to the security analyst, Adam Bona, who to help us understand the effectiveness of the Peace Pact in maintaining sanity in elections. Hello, Doc. Many thanks for joining us on Newsroom. We want to understand what specific roles have the Peace Pact played in ensuring peaceful elections over the years?
Oh, yes. Good morning. I am not too sure what specific roles or the impact of the Peace Pact, apart from the optics, apart from making it look like once a Peace Pact is signed, then people unilaterally or people agree that there won't be violence. And so as far as I'm concerned, probably somebody would have to conduct some research since we started signing these peace pacts or agreements to see whether anytime we signed it, it's probably made people become more civil or politicians became, becoming civil. I'm not too sure. I think it is the other way around. I don't think it is the case that once it is signed, people then, begin to be more civil. I don't think so, because then, until recently, when IGP Dampare he was appointed as the IGP, all by-elections have been characterized by or with violence, including Ayawaso West Wagon. And so where were the peace pacts that were signed? And so as far as I'm concerned, it's almost like, let's sign it, and then yet, when there is confusion, let's not talk about it. So as far as I'm concerned, I'm not too sure the impact of a peace pact, if you ask me. I'm not too sure. In referencing it to our situation, I'm not too sure what the impact is now.
But then, Doc, would you advise or suggest a legal provision to enforce that the Peace Council is I mean, when it's legally binding, maybe there'll be some obligation to see to the signage of it?
Well, you cannot put in place a law that will, by extension, require me to sign a peace pact. It will be very difficult. I haven't seen that anywhere. You come to that arrangement through dialogue and negotiation. So you can't put in a law to do that. But what we can rather do is to get the National Peace Council give them more powers instead of the advisory role they play. Because at the moment, the National Peace Council, they are my friends. I work directly and indirectly with them in so many ways. I haven't heard them speak about some of the atrocities that has characterized our elections, and even beyond elections. People have been brutalized. People get killed in Baku, and I don't see releases from the National Peace Council. Ashama happened, I didn't see a release. Garu area, people were beaten. Ayawaso West Wagon is pending to be actualized in terms of compensations. We had 8 people losing their lives in the 2020 elections. We had a leaked IGP tape, a tape that is, ascribed to COP, Alex Mensah and co. And we have a report from Parliament sent to the President. And these people came together to orchestrate, to see how they can, according to them, to push the elections to one side. All these things are things that would probably breach the peace. And the Peace Council, they have not spoken about them. So I think that probably they are not able to do that because of the fear of victimization. And so if they become what I would want to call probably more powers, a regulator, to regulate the peace area. I mean, I don't know how that is going to be done, but I'm sure we can think around and come up with something. But at the moment, they lack that power to do anything. And so it becomes difficult for anyone to wink the rest of us and say, oh, let's agree to peace when it suits them. So for me, I don't want to believe that the Peace Council will have enough power to do anything until such a time that we give them more powers that go beyond just the advisory role they are currently playing.
Right, Doc. So does this justifies the NDC stance to not sign the Peace Pact then?
Well, I wouldn't want to say it justifies. I am speaking as an analyst to say that some of the things I might have repeated on your network, not once, not twice, several times.
Yeah.
And so any citizen who is looking on the sidelines will say that it is important the Peace Council comes to the round table and begin to feel it as the ordinary citizen feel it. But probably the NDC would have to reconsider their stance because they, the leaders of NDC, they have a large following, and therefore they have come up with some conditions. With these conditions they've come up with, I think they are not very difficult conditions, if you ask me. The president should sign, this should sign, that should sign. I don't want to believe the president would want Ghana to be chaotic. I don't want to believe the IGP wants Ghana to be chaotic. I don't want to believe implementing the Awisi West Wagon, white paper or the recommendation would be, anything. And then letting us have a report on the 8 people who were murdered, during the 2020 election, letting us know what happened is an issue. I think that these are questions that border on our national security, our sovereignty. So it's important that we don't restrict it to political parties, but we look at it as something that affects our well-being as a people. Once we begin to do it that way, we will take away the issue of politics and look at it that NPP, NDC, they are all Ghanaians, and the rest of us are Ghanaians. So let's see how these things are going to be done. So for me, maybe I say look at the NDC are the people talking about it, but some of us have been talking about this long before they came to the round table. So I think that it is to give it a bit of traction and say, can we get it right? So that 2024, we don't end up getting there again. Right.
Thank you so much, Doc, for making time to speak with us on Newsroom. That was Dr. Adam Bonah giving us his thoughts on the effectiveness on the Peace Pact signing ahead of the elections. Well, it's time for social media, and Nanama is in the studio with what you've been saying on social media. Nanama.
Good morning, Dede. Well, yesterday, Dr. Hassan Ayariga was on Star. So he was talking about there being some presidential aspirants who cannot even fly to certain countries in the US. And we will hear from him. He was talking about criminal presidents or aspirants. Then we have Japheth asking, are they going to govern US or Ghana? Then Adil questions or is asking maybe whether it's Airbus Mahama he's talking about. Then Alvin says that you only hear of him, Ayariga, during the elections. Then Nana Boachi says, this man, Pa, I'm surprised he got a nice wife. Why? Why should you be surprised? Then Kofi says, I thought you said you had PhD in whatever. Have you ever worked in an organization or a company? Can you assist or a deputy or vice to do anything on his own without his boss's permission or approval? Hey, Doc, it's never done anywhere. As a vice, you do whatever your boss asks you to do, or you get sacked. Please, don't say anything or do anything that will let people talk about you as if you don't know because of politics. The vice cannot do what his boss has not asked him to. So in case you become president, your vice can do anything. Hey, then we are in trouble. We also have August who thinks or hints Nana Kwame Bediako. Kennedy is asking who is that person. And then we have some comments we can't read there. And then we have Kofi who says Nam1 Jr. Well, that's what we are able to read for you on social media today. My name is Nanama Akwa. Back over to you, Dede.
Thank you so much, Nana. That'll be all for election stories on Election Hub. Dabraka District Court 2 has remanded Constable Smith Jechi into police custody after he was arraigned on a provisional charge of murder. This follows his alleged shooting of Stanley Ahaji, now deceased, over a disagreement on transport fare on August 18 at Kwan's Estate Gate near Kuntunsi in the Ga East municipality. There is more.
The mood at the Adabraka District Court 2 was a mix of somberness and anger during and after the proceedings. Reacting to what transpired in court, Yesuto Ahajiche, an aunt of Stanley Ahaji, now deceased, expressed hope that justice will be served.
Well, it's like it's part of the law. He's been charged and is to be remanded to 9th of September. We have to come back again. Since it's a proceeding, I'm sure it's the starting point. And then from there, we'll find out whether the procedure will change.
Yesuto bemoaned the incident, saying no one deserves to lose their life in such a tragic manner. She called on parents not to renege on their parental roles to safeguard against misconduct that brings perpetual pain to others.
I think the greatest thing is patience and tolerance. If he had exercised a little bit of patience, he insisted on being paid. And I think twice, apart from the physical cash he was holding, he withdrew money from his wallet twice. But for the sake of 35 cedis left, while begging him, then he shot him in the head. We need patience and self-discipline. Parents should try hard and groom their children as they grow to learn to be tolerant.
The accused is on a provisional charge of murder and remanded into police custody to allow for more investigations into the case and will reappear in court on September 9, 2024.
Now let's move on to the Upper East region, because farmers along the Kubori River in the Binduru district of the Upper East region have started premature harvesting of their crops due to flooding from the spillage of the Kupianga and Bagri dams. The annual dam spillage often results in farmers in the Upper East region and the Northeast regions losing their crops to the water. Despite constant information sharing by the National Disaster Management Organization with farmers in the communities like Sapeliga, Kubori and others, many crops are not yet ready for harvest. However, the dam spillage occurring a few days ago, farmers are forced to harvest their crops early as the overflowing Kubori River floods their farms. My colleague Ayaba Abdulaziz from the Max Empire FM visited the affected farms on Wednesday and provides more insight into the situation. We are trying to speak to Ayaba, who visited the place yesterday, to give us updates on this particular development. Farmers along the Kubori River in the Binduru district of the Upper East region have started premature harvesting of their crops due to the flooding from the spillage of the Bagri dams. Well, we are trying to speak to our colleague at the Max Empire FM, Ayaba Abdulaziz, to get us up to speed on what is currently happening there. You're welcome back. This is still Newsroom here on GHOne television. Let's do some business stories now. In business, Professor Roy Canton, a former research scientist with the Savannah Agricultural Research Institute of the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research, has expressed strong reservations about the government's seeming lack of support for farmers affected by the drought. According to him, the severity of the situation is compelling some frustrated farmers to attempt suicide. He's impressing upon the government to, as a matter of necessity, fashion out tailored remedies to ameliorate the plight of vulnerable farmers whose investment have been completely damaged. His comment comes on the back of a drought hitting parts of the northern and OT regions due to a lack of rainfall. There is more.
It's quite a very serious, in fact, it's a hopeless case in some of the areas. And I think the government should really, to me, what I think government should have been doing by now is to have told us what packages they have for the farmers, because it's a dire situation.
It's a dire situation.
I am even told some people are attempting suicide, which is normal, because when you invest, you know, millions of Ghana cedis, these days things are hard. People say, so you can imagine if people are struggling and all that you have, you've invested, you've gone for a loan. And you know, Ghana, our interest rates are the highest in the sub-region.
Yeah.
You know, you go for a loan for 27% profit, you know, interest rate. How are you going to come out of this? And another funny thing which we have in this country, no one grants insurance to farmers. They always say that agriculture is expensive, it's risky. But nobody will tell you that eating food is risky or expensive. You see the conundrum. Nobody says that.
So now let's cross over to the northern region, where our northern regional correspondent, Noah Naj, will give us a vivid or clearer picture of what exactly is happening there. Noah, many thanks for joining us this afternoon. Tell us, how dire is the situation in the northern region?
It's quite very a challenging one, especially looking at the fact that most of the research fields that are supposed to be producing breeder seeds, foundation seeds, are not able to do so because there is no water. Most of the research fields depends on rain-fed. Now, when it comes to the irrigation dams, which we have within the enclave, which is Golinga, Botanga, and others, one of the critical problems now is the fact that you will notice that the water that we are supposed to collect into the dams have reduced. So a lot of the research fields are not able to even utilize the irrigation facilities that are existing now. So the problem is quite complicated. If you go to Mio, you come to San, you come to Nanton, you come to areas like Tolon. Tolon is hard hit because they already have a challenging land photography, which is not even allowing water to be retained. So their problem is quite very, very dire. When it goes to Zabzugu, Tatale, it's also not a very good one because of the acidity level in the soil. Karaga, Gushegu, it looks a bit mild because they experience what we call, what scientists will call showers, but it's not rainfall. So you realize that the land is quite a bit moist, but not with water that much. So the challenge is quite very, very interesting. The research fields are the most difficult ones because what it meant is that foundation seeds and the breeder seeds that needs to be generated by research scientists for seed producers will be in short supply. This year we experienced so many things. Now PFJ that has been introduced by government this year, that's PFJ 2. Farmers have not been able to apply fertilizer, even though government have released close to about 50% of the fertilizer support to some of them so far, yet to release the others. The question you ask yourself is that, have these farmers been able to apply the fertilizers on their field? No. So the PFJ farmers who are in large, operating on large-scale farming, have not been able to actually execute the agriculture requirement that we want to see this year. And the problem is so deep that some of the farms that are in areas where drought is common, the situation is quite like they are experiencing what we call real drought. Real drought. Especially when, let's say, for instance, when you go to Tolon, when you get close to areas like Makango areas, where they can actually source the river water, which is the white water, those who are able to pump it onto the farm have been able to get something to say maize, but the others cannot. Now, because of this drought, worms infestation have increased on most fields. And that is what is even making it a worse situation for most farmers.
So Noah, I'm sure you may have engaged some of the farmers. I mean, now that they cannot rely solely on their irrigation systems, what are they looking for government to do for them?
Majority of the people have engaged with the commercial farmers because they are actually getting the government support this year, and they are the ones that are really doing a bit of the talking, and a large part of the talking is also being done from their end. The peasant farmers, their complaint has to do with the fact that, yes, they haven't seen rain, so they haven't been able to invest money to buy fertilizer. So they are not doing much of the talking, but their situation is even dire because without getting this year's season to run for them is going to be problematic. A lot of yam farmers who are supposed to have harvested their yams this year, because of the rain, they have not been able to harvest the yam. So that has also become another matter that the yam farmers are also complaining about. And the yield that you can see when it comes to yam this year, you are going to see smaller yams, not bigger yams that we usually know, which we use in pounding our fufus in the north. But this year, we are going to have records of lower yams, smaller in bit, not sizable as we usually will experience. So it's quite a bit worrying. The commercial farmers are the ones doing a bit of the talking. They were the ones attacking government for the fertilizer. When the fertilizer was released, now they can't apply the fertilizer because of no rains. And that is quite a bit worrying one for us.
Right, Noah, thank you so much. That was our Northern Regional correspondent giving us updates on the situation on drought there. That'll be all for business. You're welcome back, and it's time for sports, and Nana Majiman is in the studio with the very latest.
I am Nana Ama Ajiman. Now, the director of the National Sports Authority, Doche Numekevo, has debunked reports making waves on social media that the pitch at the Baba Yara Sports Stadium is in a deplorable state, 2 weeks ahead of it hosting the African Cup of Nations qualifier between the Black Stars versus Angola in September. Speaking in an interview on the game and GHOne TV, the NSA boss indicated that the pitch will be ready for the qualifier.
Well, that's not the current state. You see, when an event is held at the stadium on the grass, it takes a while for us to go. And we're taking steps to reclaim the pitch and to recover it back to its normal state. So I don't think the picture that people are trying to paint is a true picture of what the situation is at the moment.
If I heard you right, you are saying that the pictures trending currently is not the current state of the pitch as we speak today in Kumasi.
No, it's not. That's exactly what I'm saying.
Okay. So in 2 weeks' time, the Stars are going to be in Kumasi for the game against Angola. How prepared is the venue for that fixture?
That's what I'm saying. That look, even when a pitch is ready for a match, when the teams go for halftime, when they are on break, you still have to water. Sometimes you still have to mow the grass. Okay, so as for pitch preparation, it's not an event, it is a process. And that process is ongoing and will be ready for Angola come the 5th of September, 2024.
So no cause of concern has been expressed by some Ghanaians after seeing those images?
I mean, look, you see, we live in a country where we all know there are hirelings, there are mercenaries out there who jump onto Facebook to do anything to cause mischief. So we are aware of these things. It's normal, you know.
Now, the NSA boss further justified the move of the authority renting out the stadium for non-sporting event and concert. Explaining this on the game, he revealed how the NSA resorts to these means in order to raise revenue for the maintenance of the pitches, payment of utility bills, among others.
all over the world, whether you go to Wembley, whether you go to the Emirates, whether you go to Bayern Munich Stadium, the stadium is let out to other organizations to do activities. It can be rugby, it can be musical concerts. Musical concerts are being held at Wembley Stadium in the UK every day. Okay? The most important thing is that when those events are held, you get the whole stadium back in shape for whatever game you have in hand. It is done everywhere. Now, you see, a lot of people tend to think that, oh, NSA cannot manage the facilities they are using for church services. If you're going to, you see, teams come to play. And let me make this point clear. In the UK and the advanced countries, whether you are Arsenal or you are Tottenham, they all have stadiums to themselves. They own the stadiums where they play. Okay? To manage such facilities, you need a lot of money. So, for example, if you're going to play a typical league game, you have to power the genset. You have to buy fuel for the generator set. You have to turn on the taps to be able to run all the toilet facilities in the stadium. You have to buy toilet roll, you have to buy soap, and you have to buy a whole lot of things. NSA pays for all of that. The teams do not pay virtually nothing. Where are we going to get money to be paying for all of that? And the teams expect to come and play. And when they play, people drink water, sachet water, bottled water. They drink yogurt. They do all kinds of things. When they leave, how do we clear the rubbish before they come in for the next game?
Fine,
so if you don't do all these ones, if you don't do all these events, where is the NSA going to get money to run the stadium?
And that brings us to the end of Newsroom here on GHOne Television. My name is Awisi Dede Ijangi. Have a good afternoon.